you look here, we got the Thursday night football games that are coming up. Lots of really big games on this list. First week, you get Ravens versus Chiefs, what are expected to be the AFC title game. And then moving on, there's some division rivals coming up. Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets, Cowboys, Giants, all division, Falcons, Bucks, division guys. So those are all always exciting games. You never know who's going to win those games, of course, because they're in the division. It's normally a 1-1. So
yeah, I think one of the emphasis on this year's Thursday night schedule is that there was a lot of really bad football on Amazon Prime last year,
right.
and they're now in their third season with I guess hosting the Thursday night football for the most part. Obviously, week one is the Ravens Chiefs. It'll be on NBC for the opener. But I think the majority of these games are division games, so emphasis on importance. On top of that, Broncos Saints revenge game narrative with
Right.
Sean Payton, and then there's some important like Dolphins Packers, like really
Right.
exciting football games. So I think they just try to make a really emphatic point, like, hey, we bought this product. We want to display good football
Right.
that people actually
Absolutely.
tune into, because now we're really going, they're breaking up, these primetime games into different streaming sites and kind of going away from cable since it's dying. And so you have to have a reason. And so you can't have backup quarterback versus backup quarterback and expect people to go to Amazon Prime and watch a Thursday night game. Like last year, Easton Stick against Aiden O'Connell, 63-3. Like, that's not football that anybody's interested in
or expecting. I mean,
now we did have a power pick on Prize Picks that hit, so we were kind of sweating that towards the end. But for the most part, the common football fan that just wants to watch a good game, like, that's not drawing numbers for them.
Yeah, if I look up there, the Texans at the Jets, that's exciting. Most of these games are within the conference as a whole. I don't even see one that's not in conference except for maybe the Broncos and the Saints.
And then Packers Dolphins.
Oh yeah, Packers Dolphins.
That I mentioned previously. But yeah, for the most part,
they're making them.
Usually the Sunday night games are the ones that are division or tiebreaker based for playoffs and postseason. Which there's still a slew of games that really really important big games, but I think they just really tried to be like, no, Thursday night we need to give them some better matchups.
Right, of course. And then for Sunday night, they're going to get the 18 weeks. You look up there, there's some big games on there too, though. There's a lot of playoff expected teams. Rams and Lions starting it off, and then first 4-5 weeks are all teams that we kind of expect to make the playoffs until you get to the Giants.
I have no idea how they landed 3 primetime games.
Yeah, the Giants. I don't know.
There was 2 teams, the Panthers and the Patriots. I'm sorry, the Panthers are the only one that didn't have a single one. Patriots have one, but yeah, the Giants somehow lost all their star power. I don't even know who that they on the preview graphic who they would even put up. Brian Burns, a newly defensive end. But somehow they got 3 games, and doesn't make a lot of sense. Week 6 we'll probably be doing other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or not tuning in. But again, sometimes those are the games that sneakily end up being super competitive.
Of course. And then, going on, you get the Cowboys 49ers, big game in that conference. Looking ahead, you get the Lions at the Texans. That's an awesome game we're going to want to watch. 49ers at Bills, Bucks at Cowboys. Just a lot of fun, entertaining games, at least, where we know like we're going to get good football.
Right.
Not much other than that one Giants game that I'm like, oh, I just dislike that game. So.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of good matchups and stuff. And then obviously week 18 was TBD. Again, the way that the schedules worked the last 10 or so years is that every single game in week 18 is division game. And essentially they're flexing the most important game to Sunday night.
Right.
Everything else is going to be an afternoon game on Sunday. And so usually candidates that this is for the division title, like last year, Colts Texans esque.
Yeah.
So this year, just kind of notable games that kind of stand out. Week 18, Jets and Dolphins
Yeah.
could be a division or a wild card playoff spot. Bengals, Steelers, very interesting one. Also Browns, Ravens, Bears, Packers,
Yeah.
another one. Jacksonville, Indianapolis. You know, throwing Washington, Dallas, just because one rivalry and who knows how high up Washington
Yeah, exactly.
can
Washington
rise.
could
But
end up.
again, Dallas has pretty much handled their business against the Commanders over the last few years. But new head coach, former DC,
New team.
so many players
Yeah.
went with him.
Mhm.
About 4 players from last year's Cowboys team. So I don't expect Dallas to have the same you know success,
Right, of
at
course.
least for both games.
Yeah, and then jump into Monday night, similar story. Um, a lot of cool games. I want to say that this is you're going to get of course, the Jets 49ers early. They want to, of course, attack week 1 with big games so
Hmm.
people watch. But this is actually, to me, Monday night was the lowest, like, performance based group of all the
Right.
like primetime games. So
Yeah. I mean, there are some good games in between it, but a lot of times that's just they want a standalone game
yeah.
that, and also kind of to combat that, they're kind of going into or establishing more of a you know I guess test for double headers on Monday. So
Mhm.
this year there's 4 different weeks: week 3, week 4, week 7, and week 15 right now that have double headers on Monday. And so a lot of times with Sunday night games later in the season, say Joe Burrow's out for the season, so
Mhm.
you know obviously Cincinnati's not a draw, so maybe we'll flex, give a couple weeks notice, flex the Patriots and the Bills. I'm sorry, the Chiefs and the Bills or something like that
Right.
into a primetime slot. Well, with Monday night, you can't really do that. So a lot of times they just try to double it up. And
Mhm.
so, look at week 3, Commanders and Bengals, like not a huge draw, but then Jags Bills. That's interesting.
Right.
And so having 2 games on Monday nights, I think is a positive thing. And on top of that, if you have just 14 games on Sunday, the common fan is only going to watch 1 or 2. But if you have game on Thursday, game on Saturday, bunch on Sunday, 2 on Monday,
Mhm.
it's like it's more reason for people to consume the product. So
Right.
that's why I think that they're doing that. And there's a pretty good amount of, solid matchups, especially week 17. That's probably my favorite game on the entire schedule.
Right. Well, I think, like you said, I'll be able to watch 6 games if I don't have, the NFL red zone or something like that.
Hmm.
So you'll be able to get more. But yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, let's look at some divisional things. Sorry, international games first. Um, at this point, we've got 5. I'm thinking we're probably going to end up in a few years having 18 of them. We're one a week
Hmm.
basically. But there's some cool games going on. I believe that it's the first time
First time going to Brazil, yeah.
going to Brazil. Packers and Eagles in week 1. It's on Friday.
Hmm.
Very odd game, but it'll be fun. That game is actually highly anticipated at this point too, so that's cool. And then as you go down, you get the Jets and the Vikings. Okay. Vikings are really good in other countries, so that's fun.
Hmm.
Jags and Bears. That's actually very highly anticipated in at least this room
Hmm.
because we think that the Bears are better than most are right now.
And it's the 2 quarterback prodigies
Yeah.
going head to head. Usually, that was a game that I was very surprised that they let that go overseas, because
Hmm.
that could have been a primetime game or something of that nature. So having that, these are all Eastern starting times, but
Right.
8:30 for our time. Half of our friends are going to be asleep
Yeah.
watching a really good football game. Um, it's kind of similar to last year with Miami, Tyreek Hill making his what would have been return to Kansas City,
Hmm.
because Kansas City was the home team and they had that in London. And it just didn't make a lot of sense. There could have been a lot of ratings for, that kind of game.
Yeah.
But again, you can't just give the all the shit games. I guess Germany got the short end of the stick
Yeah,
with
they
the
did.
Giants Panthers, which
Battle of the bottom. But
like those two teams are on Carson Beck watch
yeah.
essentially. So
Well, you also look at it like they pick a lot of East Coast teams because of the time differences.
mhm,
If you're a West Coast person, you're waking up at 6:30 at this point. You're not waking up, at 9:30 or waking up for the game prior to 9:30. So they pick a lot of East Coast teams. That kind of cuts half their ability in of teams that they can put on this list.
mhm.
So that makes it a little bit harder. So adding the Giants and Panthers, I guess, makes sense because of that too, and
Yeah.
giving the Panthers any kind of prime time game. I'm guessing they kind of group this as prime time, but we don't
And
necessarily.
this is the second year that they'll be having Jacksonville have consecutive games in London.
Yeah.
One, obviously, they're a home team. One, they're an away team. Um, but I think if it weren't for Trevor Lawrence, they would be playing 4 to 5 weeks at this point in London
Hmm.
because they were really trying to draw the Jags. It feels like they've been an annual team like the Lions or Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They've
Right.
been every year in London, and so the last 2 years having 2 games. And obviously with Trevor Lawrence, you want to have one of your prodigies or top quarterbacks be in the States.
Yeah.
But if they were just kind of still never figured it out. They were continued dysfunction. They were the Cleveland Browns in terms of results.
They
I
would have been.
guarantee you that they would be pushing the narrative of, hey, they're the London Jaguars
Right.
or
Of
something of that
course.
nature. Because for some reason, instead of, continentally expanding to either Canada or Mexico, they're trying to push it overseas.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's the route, but I don't know. And also, I don't know, expansion wise, what you can do to go overseas to make it work because the common player is not going to want to play. It's hard enough to get players to want to play in Canada for like NBA or NHL,
Right. Of course.
maybe less NHL because it's more based.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. That's a topic for another day, though.
Yeah. And then holiday games. You got week 13. You got Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
Thanksgiving kind of looks the same as it always does. You get the Cowboys, you get the Lions, you get the Packers, and then their mixture of opponents, basically.
Hmm.
And then Black Friday, you get the Raiders and the Chiefs. And, you know, as a Raiders fan, we play the Chiefs really well. And so that game is actually more exciting because of the division.
Hmm.
Of course, we're not going to be the better team, but on that day, we could.
Christmas Day
Yeah.
last year, y'all took it to them
Yeah,
in Kansas
exactly.
City. So, um, you know, having a Black Friday game. I believe the second year they're doing that as well.
Hmm.
Exciting game. I feel like the Chiefs are playing every single day of the week other than Tuesday this
Right.
year. Because again, on Christmas Day they're playing the Steelers,
Yep.
and that's a Wednesday. So a couple of teams kind of got somewhat screwed in terms of having 3 games in 10 days, which has never been done before.
Yeah.
And so the Chiefs, because they are the two-time champions, they are the biggest draw. You're going to be the guinea pig for that. So,
Yep.
and that's going to be huge if we're talking about like win total bets
Hmm.
because those kinds of games make all the difference. And normally a week 2 game, Chiefs at Steelers, we'd probably hammer the Chiefs.
Right.
But short week on a Wednesday, obviously they'd be playing the Saturday prior. You never know.
Yeah.
And so those kinds of games are the ones that slip away, and then you kind of
And,
finish lower than normal.
and it's not two at home games. It's like you go
Right.
to the Steelers. You have
Hmm.
to go and play there. So that's a little bit more difficult. And then the Ravens and Texans is going to be a big game.
That'll be a huge game.
That'll probably tell us kind of where the Texans really sit at the end of the year. So that'll be a big game.